Stop waking up at 4 a.m. just to grind your soul into dust. Stop listening to the billionaire podcast bros screaming at you to put in 100-hour work weeks. Throw away the hustle culture playbook, burn the no days off motivational posters, and stop believing that your sheer, brute force willpower is going to save you. I am going to tell you the brutal, unfiltered truth about why your relentless, agonizing effort is the exact thing destroying your life. It is going to completely contradict everything you have been taught about success. It is going to sting. But it is the exact psychological truth you need to hear to finally stop suffering. The modern self-help industry, the productivity gurus, and the alpha male influencers have sold you a massive, exhausting, and toxic lie. They have convinced you that the universe is a vending machine. They tell you that if you just insert enough blood, sweat, and panic into the machine, it will dispense the money, the relationship, and the respect you so desperately crave. They tell you that if you are failing, it is simply because you aren't trying hard enough. You just need to push harder. You just need to care more. You just need to obsess over your goals until you bleed. It is a complete scam. It is a psychological trap designed to keep you burning out, constantly consuming their content, and constantly running on a hamster wheel that is rigged to break your legs. You know exactly the agony I am talking about. You feel it in the dead of the night when you are staring at the ceiling. You try so unbelievably hard to fall asleep. You squeeze your eyes shut. You command your brain to shut down. You obsess over how tired you are going to be tomorrow. You try with every ounce of your willpower to force your body into unconsciousness. And what happens? Your heart rate spikes. Your brain goes into overdrive. The harder you try to force sleep, the wider awake you become. This is not a coincidence. This is a law of nature. Now look at the rest of your life. Look at your relationships. You meet someone you really want. You try incredibly hard to make them like you. You text them back immediately. You over-explain your jokes. You bend your entire personality to match what you think they want. You suffocate them with your desperate effort. And what happens? They pull away. They feel the heavy, suffocating weight of your neediness, and they run in the opposite direction. The harder you try to force love, the more repulsive you become. Look at your career. Look at your finances. You panic about money. You obsess over every single dollar. You take on extra projects that you hate, you micromanage your team, you stare at your screen until your eyes bleed, trying to force a breakthrough. You operate from a place of pure, unadulterated desperation. And what happens? You make careless mistakes. You alienate your coworkers. You burn out your creative energy. You reek of desperation, and high-level clients, bosses, and investors can smell it on you from a mile away. Nobody wants to do business with a man who is drowning. You are putting a stranglehold on reality, and you are wondering why reality is choking. You are experiencing the most ruthless, undeniable psychological phenomenon in human existence. The law of reversed effort. When you desperately try to force an outcome, you actively engineer your own failure. When your willpower and your underlying emotional state are in conflict, your emotional state will win every single time. If you are trying to get rich because you feel fundamentally poor. If you are trying to get the girl because you feel fundamentally unlovable. If you are trying to command respect because you feel fundamentally worthless. Your actions are infected with panic. You are vibrating with the frantic frequency of a beggar. And the universe does not respect beggars. You are exhausting yourself. You are burning through your most valuable asset, your psychological energy, trying to wrestle the ocean into submission. You are fighting a current that is 1,000,000 times stronger than you, and you are drowning yourself in the process. If you are finally sick and tired of grinding your gears, burning out, and watching the things you want run away from you. If you are ready to drop the desperate hustle and build an identity made of gravity instead of anxiety, then hit subscribe right now. We are about to completely tear down your modern conditioning and install an ancient, unbreakable psychological operating system. Let's look at the men who actually understood how to dominate reality. The men who conquered the known world, advised empires, and possessed an inner peace that modern billionaires would pay all their fortunes to acquire. The Stoics. They did not hustle. They did not operate from a state of frantic, terrified striving. They understood a foundational truth that your modern productivity coach is completely blind to. True power does not come from forcing the external world to bend to your will. True power comes from aligning your internal world so perfectly that the external world naturally gravitates toward you. Think about Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, the most powerful human being on the face of the earth. He commanded vast armies. He managed the global economy. He dealt with plagues, betrayals, and wars. If anyone had an excuse to be frantically trying to control every moving piece, it was him. If anyone had the right to lose sleep trying to force outcomes, it was the emperor. But read his private journal. Read Meditations. You will not find a single sentence where he tells himself to hustle harder. You will not find a single entry where he obsesses over forcing an outcome. Instead, you find a man actively practicing the art of letting go. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Marcus Aurelius understood that desperate effort is a sign of a weak mind. When you are desperately trying to force a result, you are secretly making a pathetic contract with the universe. You are saying, "I cannot be whole, I cannot be safe, and I cannot be happy unless this specific thing happens exactly the way I want it to." You are handing the keys to your nervous system over to the chaotic, uncontrollable future. You are a hostage to your own desires. The Stoics realized that attaching your peace of mind to external outcomes is a form of voluntary slavery. Think about Epictetus. He was born a slave. He had absolutely zero physical control over his environment. His literal body was owned by another man. And yet, he commanded more psychological authority than the emperor himself. Why? Because Epictetus drew a massive, uncompromising line in the sand. The dichotomy of control. He understood that his wealth, his reputation, his bodily health, and the opinions of others were entirely outside of his control. They were external noise. They were the weather. But his mind, his judgment, his principles, and his chosen actions were his absolute, untouchable domain. When you try to force the world to give you what you want, you are completely blurring that line. You are actively trespassing into the realm of the uncontrollable. You are trying to command the weather, and you are crying when it rains. Epictetus would look at a modern man grinding himself into a panic attack over a quarterly earnings report, and he would feel profound pity. He would say, "You are a fool. You are trying to rule a kingdom that does not belong to you. You cannot force the market to buy your product. You cannot force a woman to find you attractive. You cannot force the world to hand you success. They belong to the realm of the external. They are outside the wall of your citadel. And you wonder why you feel paralyzed with anxiety. You wonder why your jaw is locked, why your chest is tight, why you cannot sleep. It is because you are carrying the psychological weight of trying to manipulate the future. You are trying to play God, and your nervous system is collapsing under the pressure. You have to completely shift your paradigm. You have to stop operating through brute force, and start operating through Stoic alignment. Let me introduce you to the most powerful mental model in ancient philosophy. It is a concept that completely shatters the modern idea of trying hard. The Stoic archer. The philosopher Antipater of Tarsus used the analogy of an archer shooting at a target to explain how a man should live his life. Look at the modern hustle culture archer. He steps up to the line. He is terrified of missing. His entire sense of self-worth is attached to hitting the bullseye. He tells himself, "If I miss, I am a failure. If I miss, I will be broke. If I miss, no one will love me." He pulls the bowstring back. His heart is pounding. His hands are sweating. He is staring at the target with pure, unadulterated desperation. He is trying so incredibly hard to control the arrow. And because he is tense, because he is frantic, because he is consumed by the outcome, his hand shakes. He releases the string, and the arrow flies wide. He misses. And then he falls to his knees and cries, believing he just didn't try hard enough. Now, look at the Stoic archer. He steps up to the exact same line. He holds the exact same bow. But his internal operating system is completely different. The Stoic archer understands the dichotomy of control. He knows that he controls his stance. He controls his breathing. He controls the tension in his fingers. He controls the sharpness of his focus. He controls everything leading up to the release of the string. But he also knows a brutal, undeniable truth. The exact millisecond the arrow leaves the bow, it is no longer his. A sudden gust of wind could blow it off course. An animal could run in front of the target. The target itself could suddenly collapse. The outcome is entirely, fundamentally outside of his control. So what does the Stoic archer do? He masters his technique to the absolute highest degree. He aims with flawless precision. And then, he emotionally detaches from the target. He literally does not care if the arrow hits the bullseye. His success is not defined by the target. His success is defined by the perfection of his aim. He draws the string back. His hands are perfectly steady. His breathing is calm. He is not clouded by desperation. He is not vibrating with anxiety. He releases the arrow. And whether it hits the dead center of the gold, or gets blown into the trees by a storm, the Stoic archer remains completely unbothered. He smiles, picks up another arrow, and prepares to aim again. This is the secret that modern society has kept from you. The ultimate hack to achieving what you want is to stop needing it. You must violently sever the emotional cord between your self-worth and the outcome of your actions. This requires a complete death of the ego you have spent your whole life building. Your ego tells you that you are your achievements. Your ego tells you that you are the numbers in your bank account, the title on your business card, and the approval of your peers. That ego is not a mark of ambition. It is a leash around your neck. Because as long as you identify with the outcome, the world owns you. You must stop viewing your life as a performance where you must win the prize. You must view your life as the practice of a craft. Let's break down the actual psychology of what happens when you drop the desperate effort. Let's look at your career. When you walk into a negotiation, or a sales pitch, or an interview with the desperate need to win, you ruin the deal. You talk too much. You laugh too hard at their jokes. You concede your boundaries because you are terrified they will walk away. You radiate weakness. And the person across the table instinctively loses respect for you. The Stoic walks into the exact same room, but he is the archer. He has prepared his presentation flawlessly. He knows his value. But he has already accepted the absolute worst-case scenario. He has already emotionally detached from the yes. He thinks, I have aimed perfectly. If they say no, the wind blew the arrow. It is not my concern. Because he doesn't need the deal, he is calm. He speaks slowly. He holds eye contact. He states his terms without apology. He is not afraid of silence. And because he is willing to walk away, he holds all the leverage. He becomes magnetic. The client suddenly wants to work with him because humans are biologically wired to be attracted to sovereign strength and repulsed by anxious neediness. He gets the outcome, precisely because he stopped trying to force it. Let's look at your relationships. When you are desperately trying to force a connection, you become a chameleon. You suppress your actual opinions. You hide your true nature. You mold yourself into whatever you think the other person wants. You are acting. And your subconscious knows you are lying. This creates a massive biological disconnect. It triggers chronic anxiety because you are constantly monitoring your performance to make sure the mask doesn't slip. The Stoic looks at the exact same interaction, drops the performance, and chooses radical authenticity. He speaks his actual mind. He sets real boundaries. He shows his flaws. He is the archer. He aims perfectly by being entirely true to his own character. And he completely lets go of whether the person stays or leaves. If they leave, they were the wind blowing the arrow. They were incompatible weather. He does not chase them. And paradoxically, this absolute lack of desperate effort is exactly what creates deep, authentic, unbreakable respect and attraction. You are exhausting yourself trying to bend the laws of physics. You are trying to force water to flow uphill. The problem is not that you lack discipline. The problem is that you are applying your discipline to the wrong metric. You are highly disciplined at worrying. You are incredibly consistent at trying to manipulate the future. You are a master at stressing over things you cannot control. You need to redirect that exact same mental energy toward mastering your aim. I want you to look at the absolute worst-case scenario of whatever you are stressing about right now. What if the business fails? What if the relationship ends? What if you lose the money? Confront that fear head-on. Stare directly into the abyss of failure. Would your physical body instantly dissolve? Would your lungs stop processing oxygen? Would the universe collapse because your specific plan didn't work out? No. The world would keep spinning perfectly fine without your success. You would survive. You would still have your mind. You would still have your virtues. You would still have the ability to pick up another arrow and draw the bow again. The moment you truly, deeply realize in your bones that you do not need the outcome to survive, your entire aura changes. You stop radiating frantic, nervous energy. You stop vibrating with the anxious frequency of a subordinate waiting for a reward. You start walking through your life with the unshakable, terrifying gravity of a sovereign individual. You are there to practice your character, not to beg reality for a favor. This doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you become lazy. In fact, it is the exact opposite. When you are no longer operating from a place of chronic, outcome-induced panic, you can actually work harder and longer than anyone else. But it is the effortless work of a master craftsman, not the frantic thrashing of a drowning man. You can build the business because you love the process of building, not because you are terrified of being poor. You can pursue excellence because it aligns with your nature, not to prove to your high school bullies that you are worthy. The modern world is a game of psychological leverage. And the ultimate leverage is the willingness to let go of the result. If you are not willing to detach your ego from the target, then you have already surrendered your entire life to the mob of circumstance. You must stop negotiating your sovereignty. You must stop hoping that if you just grind hard enough, eventually the world will be forced to give you peace. The world will never give you peace. Peace is manufactured internally when you finally stop trying to control the uncontrollable. Reality does not owe you a seamless victory, and the universe certainly does not care about your carefully laid plans. You are entirely, completely responsible for the state of your own consciousness. Stop complaining about how burnt out you are when you are actively inviting the exhaustion into your life through your obsession with the future. Your burnout, your midday crashes, your chronic sense of being overwhelmed, they are not signs that you need a better time management app. They are an alarm system. They are your biology screaming at you that you are living out of alignment. That you are shrinking your incredible human potential by tying it to the fleeting, chaotic movements of the external world. Listen to the alarm. Stop trying to hack reality with sheer brute force. Shatter the illusion that success requires you to destroy your peace of mind. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Perfect your aim. Draw the bow with absolute focus. And then, release the string. Stop chasing the arrow. Let the wind do what it wants. Your job is already done.